we had chapter 4 in Becoming a Learner. And so how do you engage students in the text? Do you want me to take that?
You guys.
All right. So what we were discussing for engaging students with the text, one thing that I like to do is have the students partner up with an elbow partner and just look at some of the key bold points and formulate higher level questions before we even get into the reading based on what they see in the bold print. And then they formulate 1 to 2 higher level questions, and then they ask those questions to the group, which sparks conversation in our class. And so that's how I would get them started.
For us, we had 2 face-to-face and we had 2 online. So we kind of talked about what everybody does and things like that. Ours is just a discussion board question. And that's how we address this book. The whole book in one discussion board question, basically. So that's kind of hard. So we try to, you know, like I've said to my group is that if you go beyond chapter 1, because a lot of times the hardship for us is our students have to buy our own books and get them to them by within 2 weeks of starting the class. And so that's one of the hardships we have to overcome, then getting them to read the whole book by then and just to turn in the assignment That's where the big bump in the road is for us on this book. So we just use a discussion board that way. We've also just took notes as they read, things like that. Hard time is to get them over the title, Becoming a Learner. They said in class it was their hard time was to get them to, when you see Becoming a Learner, well, I'm already a learner. You know, that's what they're saying, their kids are saying. So the end.
So then, going along with chapter 4, something we were discussing that I think we're all going to take a piece of. Chapter 4 really discusses soft skills and being courageous, showing humility, just putting yourself out there in your learning. And so one thing I'm going to try to do next year when I go back to school, because we're trying to push AVID strategies school-wide, as I mentioned, I'm AVID 9, 10, 11, and 12, and this is where ACAD 101 really comes in awesomely, is I'm going to have my juniors, because that's when I do ACAD 101 is with my juniors, adopt a teacher. And instead of having the teachers provide evidence of writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading, I'm going to have the students adopt a teacher and really get to know that teacher and work on those soft skills. Because in the opening of chapter 4, I'm going to say it wrong here, so I'm going to look here. It says, the most important things you learn will not be graded. Because we hear that, is this graded? Am I getting a grade for this? And so I want them to learn the understanding of building a relationship with an adult, so that way when they get to the college level, they're more apt to go speak to a professor during college office hours, reach out like our guest speakers earlier were saying, so they can't say, well, I couldn't find anybody. There wasn't a resource for me. So if they get more used to talking to us adults, then they'll learn to get that army of people on their side. So they're going to adopt a teacher. I've started buying frames from the dollar store. And so when they go adopt the teacher, they have to interview the teacher, finding out what are jobs that they had in the past, kind of icebreakers, why they choose to go into education, where did they get their degrees from, and then they have to get a picture with that teacher, and then we'll frame all of that. So they'll do a little write-up. We'll put that on the outside of their door, and as the year goes along, they're going to have a little Wicker tracker, so I can check in with the students on a regular basis of what were Wicker strategies, writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading that you did in that class. I had to think outside the box here, because when I put it on teachers to send evidence, or they think, you know, this is one more thing that I have to do, there's pushback. And so now all I have to say to the student is, can you show me the evidence from this class? And they'll have it right there. Or I can say to the teacher, can you collaborate with your student that adopted you? And then they both talk, they reflect back to that formative and the summative there, they have a reflective piece on it, and now they bring me the evidence and I have it right there. So it goes along with all of those soft skills, so that they're not getting a grade on it. They're really learning how to be human. Marnie brought up the art of writing a thank you letter. You know, now they can really work on that. Thank you for helping me out. Maybe it leads to a letter of recommendation. Maybe it leads to a scholarship. Just building those relationships, and so really being thoughtful and mindful of that, and becoming a learner to help me with that.
And I think you missed one point
Oh,
that you
good.
made on when you were talking to us about it, is that you were going to have them write their top 3 teachers
Yes.
and
Yes.
the one teacher that they have a struggle with,
Yeah.
and that's the teacher he wants them to adopt.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you. I got excited. Yes. So every teacher, that way every teacher will get adopted. So that way nobody gets left out. So they think, oh, my top 3, and then the one that maybe they didn't get along best with, or maybe they're uncomfortable with. So they have to get outside of their comfort zone a little, because when they get to college as a freshman, they're not going to know anybody. So they have to know what that uncomfortableness kind of feels like to push through it. So.
And then we're going to take it, we talked about doing it online as an extra credit assignment. Similar to that, doing like a slideshow. The first slide would be a teacher that they're thankful for has made a difference in their life. And then somehow incorporate all these same components into this slide. And then the second slide would be their contact information, so that you can send that slide to that teacher, showing them that piece of follow-up and connection.
That's awesome.